And so why is this happening? Why does it feel like working people are spinning their tires? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is the economist-friendly word productivity. We are having a productivity crisis in this country. And, when I engage people in my community, often their eyes will glaze over about productivity. I totally get it. But we have heard, and I have heard from business leaders, from economists, from the Bank of Canada, that productivity is in fact one of the #1 issues when it comes to standard of living in Canada, and it is in a crisis. In fact, Tiff Macklem, the governor of the Bank of Canada, just said last month, he said, quote, "What's most concerning is that unless we change something, our standard of living as a country, as Canadians, is going to be lower than it otherwise would have been." And when he was talking at the press conference giving this update about the Canadian economy, he went like this. He said the standard of living was going to be like this, now it's going to be like this. So we're going to be poorer out of the mouth of the Bank of Canada governor. He's telling Canadians, and parliamentarians should all be very concerned about this, that we're going to be poorer as a country if we keep going down this trajectory. And of course, there's world factors in that, like the trade war, but many of these issues existed long before Trump 2.0 ever came along, Mr. Speaker. And of course, we saw this a year and a half ago in March 2024, also from the Bank of Canada. Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers said about productivity, it's an emergency, it's time to break the glass. It's time to sound the fire alarm. It's time to evacuate because the productivity is so bad. But again, how does this relate to everyday people, Mr. Speaker? Again, it's not about, I think most people think when we say, oh, we have a productivity problem, they think, well, what do I have to work harder? That's actually not what it means. Nicholas Vincent from the Bank of Canada as well, the external deputy governor, said, quote, "Canada's affordability problem is really a productivity problem. If we want to make things more affordable, we need to raise our incomes, of course. And the way to grow our incomes, he said, is by increasing our productivity." So it is mission critical that we fix this productivity problem, and the results are very stark. In fact, after 10 years of Liberal government and the way that they approach the economy, we've had very poor results when it comes to productivity. In fact, it has barely grown at all since they've been in power. And when we often compete with the U.S., obviously they're our biggest buyer for our trade, but they're also our biggest competitor when it comes to businesses selecting where they're going to build factories, where they're going to hire more workers, where they're going to innovate. They're our biggest competitor, and they're in fact our productivity is, in fact, 30% lower than the U.S. And, in fact, in real U.S. manufacturing, the construction investment has been up over 300% since 2008, and Canada's has been flat since that time. So we're competing against a country that is investing 300% more in real manufacturing than us. And, in fact, U.S. firms invest triple what Canadian firms do. So a Canadian firm will be investing about $4,100 per worker annually in our workforce. And the U.S. is investing over $12,800 per worker annually. So for people to understand, let's say you work in an office and everyone works on their computers. It's as if the person beside you is working on modern computer technology. They have AI, they have virtual calling, they have a smartphone, all of those things. And you're just as smart as them, you work just as hard as they do, but you're trying to do the same job working on dial-up internet on a 1990s computer. That's the reality when we talk about investing in our workforce and what we're up against with the behemoth that is the U.S. And we used to be more on par with investment per worker. Our productivity used to be a lot closer. And now they're just leaps and bounds ahead of us, especially after the last 10 years. And in fact, it's so bad that if we were to just catch up to where the Americans are in terms of productivity, individual per capita GDP, per capita output into the economy would be $20,000 higher per worker in Canada. That's how much it would generate in economic growth and productivity. And obviously, as we've heard from the Bank of Canada, when we increase our productivity, we increase our incomes, and we increase the standard of living for Canadians.